Thank you, Abhishek. Friends from the media, a lot of you I know very well, and thank you for coming and spending this evening with us. For us, this is a momentous occasion. Very rarely we get two of the, I don't know whether I call it tallest or two of the big industry tycoons over here. We've got Mr. Mukesh Ambani, obviously the most successful Indian businessman with us, and a very close partner to BP, and Bob Dudley, who's internationally known for his leadership. They're both here together, obviously, because there's something important they want to discuss with you. So I don't want to take a lot of the thunder. Let me just tell you what the plan is. First, Bob Dudley will stand up and he will give a quick remarks. And then Mr. Ambani will stand up and give his remarks. And then we will distribute the press release to everybody. Following that, we will have a question and answer session. My request to you, and my humble request is, can you please keep the questions related to the topic that's being discussed today? And let's, because we're going to have a limited time, so let's take full advantage of that. Okay? Thank you. Bob?
Well, thank you very much, Sashi. Thank you, Mukesh. And thank you all for joining us today. A special thank you to our partners at Reliance and for the very warm welcome I've received on this trip, again, here in India. This morning, Mukesh and I met Prime Minister Modi, who has set out a very strong vision of a new India. His energy vision, rests on 4 pillars: access and affordability for all its citizens, improved energy efficiency, transition to a low-carbon world driving energy sustainability, and above all, energy security for India. BP ourselves are focusing globally and here in India on these very same 4 pillars. So it gives me great pleasure to be here once again and to share with you our plans to progress this already successful partnership. We have news to share with you today that I think holds great promise now and for the future. Firstly, BP and Reliance have agreed to award contracts to progress the development of the R-Series ultra-deep water gas field in Block KGD6 off the east coast of India. The R-Series, D34, project is a dry gas development in water depths of more than 2,000 meters and approximately 70 kilometers offshore. As you know, this is the first of 3 planned projects in Block KGD6, which consists of the R-Series, the satellites, and the D55 project. These projects will be developed in an integrated way, producing approximately 3 trillion cubic feet of discovered gas resources. And we plan to submit development plans for the next 2 projects, the satellites and D55, for government approval before the end of 2017. Development of these 3 projects, which will involve total investment of up to $6 billion, or 40,000 crores, is expected to bring a total of 30 to 35 million standard cubic meters per day, or 1 billion cubic feet of gas a day, of new domestic gas production phased out over 2020 to 2022. We've been working towards the development of discovered deepwater gas in the complex and very capital-intensive block KGD6 for some time now. Together with Reliance, I want to reinforce our commitment to working with the government to support the Prime Minister's call for import substitution and the development of the gas-based economy. The gas project from this integrated development will reduce India's import dependence, amounting to over 10% of the country's projected gas demand by 2022. It will benefit India and domestic consumers at large. I've said this before, and I will reiterate it. The strong relationship between our 2 companies is a great example of what can be done and achieved by working together at scale. Now, in addition to moving this project forward, we intend to build on our already existing upstream relationship and expand our cooperation greatly. So let me turn it over to you, Mukesh, to share more on these exciting developments with everybody.
So again, a very warm good evening to each and every one of you. Bob, as usual, it is great to have you in India. This is your 12th visit, so we should have a Hindi name for you by now. And again, we're at Reliance, we're all very proud of our partnership with BP in the upstream sector, and have been looking at more opportunities for strengthening the partnership between Reliance and BP and developing the energy markets in India and the new energy policy which is likely to come gives us a framework for that. In addition to what Bob just explained to all of you, Reliance and BP will invest after a span of many years 40,000 crores of new investments to bring about between 30 and 35 million cubic meters of gas in the next 3 to 5 years, and then sustain that over the next 7 or 8 years, right, is what the focus of the partnership is and what it will deliver. It gives me immense pleasure to additionally announce that BP and Reliance have agreed to a strategic cooperation expanding this existing partnership. Under this new cooperation, our two companies will jointly explore options to develop differentiated fuels, mobility, and advanced low-carbon energy businesses in India. We expect to collaborate in addition to the conventional fuels and aviation fuel marketing on unconventional mobility solutions, addressing electrification, digitization, and disruptive mobility trends. Together, these collaborations will seek to address the mobility needs of all Indians, urban, rural and the farm sector, industrial and the commercial sector, and the highway consumers consuming fuel on the highways, applying both the leading capabilities and competencies of BP and Reliance. I see this strategic partnership as not only strengthening the relationship between BP and Reliance, two global energy leaders, but a partnership that will create models of enabling delivery and in next generation business models for mobility for consumers in India, really for the first time in the world. It is our vision that we bring the capabilities of both the companies together to align with this new world which is of accelerated technology change, to ensure that we build new energy delivery systems in India first, make sure that Indian consumers get the first advantage of that, and then scale it on a worldwide basis. This new and historic cooperation will evaluate opportunities in trading that could optimize the value of existing products like oil, gas, fuels, LNG, power and carbon. It will also look at working together on carbon emissions trading and share knowledge around technology and management practices, utilizing the Reliance Group's full infrastructure and systems. India is a rapidly growing market with a population of 1.3 billion people, consuming today over 4 million barrels a day of oil products, and the demand for energy and fuels is expected to grow at 5 to 7% per year over the next decade. BP and Reliance are committed to bring value to Indian consumers and deploy next generation game-changing technology, business models, and scale that not only create unique value for all Indian consumers, but also generate employment that this economy deserves. Over the next year, you will hear very specific, as we complete our studies and all, you will hear on periodic milestones, very, very specific and concrete announcements of the execution of this strategy as we go along. And thank you, Bob, for yours and your leadership, BP's commitment to India, and for your vision to start these new business models and deploy next generation technologies from India and take them, prove them in India, and then take them from India to the world. Thank you very much to you for your leadership and commitment to India. Thank you.
Is it okay if I do it from here? Now we have 15 minutes for Q&A. So, Richa from HPL, I would request you, if I don't know your name, then if you could please say it. But Richa from HBL, Hindu Business Line. Yeah, Hindu.
My question is to you, Mr. Ambani.
It works.
First, good to have you back after 6 years in oil and gas space. We thought it's only geo now and no oil and gas. But very specific question. This investment comes in after your very interesting experience with the government on various issues, policy issues. And when we talk about this investment coming in, are we also looking at the past going by and the new policy change, new government bringing in new incentives in the sector? What is your take? We would like to know. And from you, sir, what we would like to know is that D6 has been an experience in itself. And when you came in with certain kind of investments and ideas. So is BP still answering its shareholders, or is it a thing of passing?
Richa, I think that for us, very specifically, this is within the existing framework of the government policies. At Reliance and BP, we've always tried to operate within whatever policies exist, and with the new policies that were announced, that has facilitated this investment. We still have some pending arbitrations, and we will follow the path of following the legal process, and we hope that we will bring those arbitrations to an end as per the normal course of law. But we are pretty enthused with the present investment proposal that we have, and we are all set to bring the true potential of KGD6 really to India and the people of India. It's high time that we produce our own gas and don't import gas when we have it.
From BP's perspective, we've seen over the last 2 years a change in policies and support that have given us the confidence with Reliance to make these very significant investments. It's a commitment by BP and its board, not taken lightly, but we have a deep commitment to India. We see the potential of India. We see the leadership and the confidence in the leadership of the country and the energy policies. And of course, having good, strong partners that have reprioritized our global investments to include these projects in our overall global portfolio. So I would say it's a strong vote of confidence from BP in India.
Thank you. Amar from PTI. Richard, just pass the mic to him, please.
My question is to both of you, sirs. There are about 4 arbitrations that are pending overhang of, including one which is as recent as January of 2017, about you being accused of unfairly enriching from ONGCs. What is the logical conclusion that you see before proceeding on these investments? Thank you.
Well, I think that we are pretty sure that we will get a fair outcome of the proceedings, and we don't think that this will come in the way of our future investments.
Nayantara? ET now.
So I'll just add, there's lots of cases around the world where these very topics are resolved through the courts, and like Mukesh, I have a strong feeling there'll be a fair resolution of this.
Good evening, Nayantara from ET Now. Mr. Ambani, you yourself said it's after some time that you're reviving investments in the oil and gas space. So my question to both of you is, why now? What has changed? It doesn't, for us, look like the crude prices have changed so dramatically that you would now suddenly talk about investing, about 40,000 crore rupees. Does it also mean that you have now accepted that the government is not going to fully align gas prices with the market the way you would have liked it? And when you both at first announced a joint venture, we didn't see a joint press conference, but we did have a joint release which talked about a new business of sourcing gas, LNG terminals, etc. Is that now officially off the table? Are you both no longer considering that?
Last question first. No, we are, that joint venture is formed. And as the markets develop, as they evolve, right, that's very much part of our plan. And effectively, I think that as all of us have been following, right, we must recognize that there are major changes. Right? For us to say that there are no major changes over the last few years, right, the government has put in major changes which now will attract private investment. And from our point of view, signaling today is that these changes are good enough, like both the BP board and the Reliance board believe that these are sustainable changes. At least from our board's point of view, these changes are material and they support our investment decision. So both our boards will have supported this investment decision. They think that this is material, and this is a very positive development both for Indian energy policy and for investment and for domestic production. And we think it's a big change.
So you're okay with the pricing now? Would that be the corollary or the flip side of what you're announcing?
Yes, with the present pricing policy. And it's a big change from what was earlier. It's the view of at least my board.
So just sorry, Narani, if you'll allow me one more thing.
Sure.
Mr. Dharmendra Pradhan has tweeted that he's invited both of you to invest in petrol pumps and fuel retailing. Are you both interested? You already have a network. Is BP interested? Have you both had a conversation about it?
Yes, and as we've said, that's a part of our new strategic alliance. We are going to explore opportunities in terms of both conventional and unconventional fuels. And the whole objective is not to do what is old world, but to try and find opportunities that are game-changing, that really deliver disruptive value to the Indian consumer, as well as help the Indian economy by employment. And that is going to be the focus of the new strategic alliance, and it covers the area of fuel retailing, as I've just said.
So Mihir from Z Business.
Hi, good evening, sir. Sir, you mentioned about the new technology and the new delivery mechanism, as well as so are you hinting somewhere at the renewable energy space? Because you mentioned about new age mobility.
Yes. It will consider low carbon, and the renewable energy space is very much on our drawing boards, and we will, as we go through and get our people together, get the groups together, look at the markets, look at our pilots and scale up, we'll come back to you with very, very specific and concrete plans that we will tell you.
Devjit from Bloomberg.
Yeah. So Devjit from Bloomberg. My question to Bob, ever since you have made your investment in E&P in India, there hasn't been much of luck as far as production is concerned. What gives you the confidence now to make further investments into India? And do you think that the government has done enough, be it in pricing or other reforms that has come out in the past 1 year or so, that gives you the confidence? And thirdly, where does this investment rank in BP's global projects that are awaiting FID?
So two things have happened since the joint venture was formed. We've actually explored together, continued to explore together, and found more resources. So we've been able to identify these three next projects. And then, of course, as Mukesh said earlier, the policies have changed. So the sense of confidence now in both what you'd call the rocks and the ability to link them up through the pipelines and the technical capability to be able to do this economically are part of the ingredients, being able to make the decisions. And I think this will only be the beginning of continued finds of resources in India, and we'll continue to work together in the future on that. But these, in terms of global portfolio of BP, of course, because the oil price is low, has been low now for 3 years, everyone has scarce capital. So we have to choose very carefully on the projects that we select. And these have moved up in the last 2 years into very competitive in our global portfolio. And they weren't before.
Nidhi from Reuters. Yeah, it's on.
BP has obtained the license to set up about 3,500 retail stations in India, and you're entering into the ATF marketing as well. But the Indian pricing structure, as far as the gasoline and gasoil is concerned, it's profitable only when you have your own barrels in the country. That means you are owning your own refining capacity. So is that an indication that Reliance and BP are looking at some kind of a tie-up for the retail fueling as well in India and maybe perhaps overseas? Or is BP looking at buying a stake into any of the projects, downstream projects, because Reliance is building so many projects as far as downstream industry is concerned on the petrochemical and on the refining side?
So what we've announced today is a strategic partnership that goes into the downstream as well as marketing. So you would not expect to see BP doing these alone or on our own or with others. We'd like to work with Reliance, and that's part of the announcement today.
Jyoti Mukul from Business Standard.
Your KT-D6 production is not really picking up. In fact, so what is the status on it? And since you are involved, both the companies are involved in a dispute with ONGC on the gas migration issue, would you be looking at joint development with ONGC?
You're right. The production has been declining. And that's why these developments are so important and just in time, really. So the changed policies in the country will now allow us to develop new resources and bring them through the same facilities. And that's an important part of the economics.
Rona Joy from CNBC. Oh, sorry.
On ONGC, like all of us, Reliance, BP, like just because you have one arbitration doesn't mean you stop all businesses. We have ongoing business relationships. We buy feedstock from them, we sell to them, we cooperate with them. So we have, again, full confidence that, among mature companies, if there are disputes, there is a fair legal framework and you'll get a fair resolution to that. That doesn't prevent us from working and looking at business opportunities with ONGC. And as far as Reliance is concerned, we work with ONGC. We've been working before the dispute, after the dispute, and I'm sure the same is with BP.
CNBC, Prashanto.
Good evening, Mr. Ambani. Ranajay Banerjee from CNBC TV 18. I want to dig a little deeper into your announcement as far as the downstream initiatives go, and especially focusing on differentiated fuels, mobility. and low carbon footprint. Now, this comes also at a time when the government is trying to sort of really put forth and incentivize, sort of more renewable sources of energy. Could you give us a ballpark figure in terms of, you said you'll give us more details after about a year, but the kind of investments that this would require, and would BP and RIL be setting up a separate company altogether for this, or you already have a JV company, the India Gas Solutions? Will it be part of this?
Well, I think that at this stage, what we've announced is we're going to put all our competencies together, and in virtually looking at all the energy needs of India and Indians, right? Come together in terms of thinking what is disruptive. We are undoubtedly going to bring the infrastructure and assets of Jio, because we think that digital networks are very important in terms of creating the energy internet. And also it might be a distributed framework. So what we are going to do is put task forces together, make sure that we get the right disruptive opportunities, experiment, try, and scale. And when we are ready to scale, at that point in time, we will determine the total amount of investment, the company structure, and all that. Right now, it's too early to do that, because we think that the world is at the beginning of accelerating technological change. And we have the capabilities and competencies, and the energy scenario globally and in India, right, will undergo change. And it is better that we innovate and try and do that in India first. So far, the business models have been that everything happens in the West, and we get it after 10 or 15 or 20 years, right? With Bob's commitment to India, we are changing that, and we are saying we will try innovation here in terms of saying that what can we do in Indian homes for, and how can we make Indian energy more affordable, more reliable, cheaper, more disruptive in terms of business model, rather than just an effective piece. And we think all these opportunities are real. We have to try them out. We have to innovate. When we do that, in some we will fail, and we will be pretty open and transparent, and both of us are prepared for that. In some we will succeed, and whatever we succeed in, we will scale up. But that's
so you're
our
looking at the
present
entire
thinking.
value chain as of now, so possibly even solar panels or whatever,
Absolutely.
whatever this may require.
Absolutely. If you read our press release, and
And
if you
it's
guys
not-
have any other ideas, we are happy to add them in.
Thank you, sir.
Siddharth from BITV.
This is Siddharth Zarabi from Business Television India. Thank you very much. I wanted a couple of points to be clarified, Mr. Ambani and Bob. One, you said in your opening remarks that this is fresh investment of 40,000 crore in the development of the three fields. I wanted to understand, would that involve a change in the current investment levels or the stake that BP has taken in that business? That's point number one. The second question really was, in terms of the award of the contracts, is it possible for you to provide us an indication of the size of these contracts and by when they are likely to be provided within the current financial year? And then finally, in terms of the gas production, it seems that what you have told us here is that you are looking to quadruple gas production. Is that basis the KG-D6 fields or just the new finds alone? If you could provide a breakup. Thank you so much.
Bob and I had a rule. I'll take all the easy questions. He's going to take the difficult ones.
I think there were 5 questions there. So the contracts will be awarded, and as you can imagine, given that we're reviewing contracts right now, we shouldn't say anything about it. Mr. Prasad next to me would be deeply unhappy. But these are large contracts. They'll create a lot of jobs in India, and particularly on the East Coast for construction. The amounts that we've laid out in terms of production are from, I think in terms of billion cubic feet a day, 1 billion cubic feet a day, incremental from these 3 fields in KG-D6. There are other things we may find, and there may be other finds that we can bring in and increase that amount. But to give you a sense of how much that is, that would be about the equivalent of $20 billion of LNG import substitution that can be produced here in India from these developments. It's a significant amount.
Thank you. Sanjeev from Economic Times.
Yeah.
So we are not going to change like any rate. Like there is no difference in the terms of partnership between BP and Reliance. It remains the same, right? And surely we think this is the beginning. As Bob said, both he and I are optimistic. We have belief in the geology for deep water on the east coast of India. So, and that belief is a consistent belief of BP and Reliance over the last decade. We are just now happy that we will be able to explore that as we go along.
I just add, for the getting the engine going again in the hydrocarbon natural gas business off the east coast of India, other operators, ONGC and some of their acreage are all, I think there's a lot of prospectivity off the coast of India. We've just been talking about our partnership, but I think in terms of the geology out there, it's encouraging.
Sanjeev from Economic Times.
Yeah, hi. Question to both of you. You've been in KG Basin and you have had different kind of experiences in that. Most importantly, your output expectation wasn't really matched by the gas you produced. What has been the biggest lesson from that, and what you think could be handy in going ahead with these new projects which you are undertaking now?
Well, I think there's one thing about oil and gas is you lay out a model of a projection from a reservoir, and it never is the right projection. So what's happened with the reservoir, there's been early breakthrough of water in the reservoir. After a while, that modeling, we could see that was going to happen. And I think, as I said before, it's just the nick of time the conditions have been created for further investment in KGD6 and in the country, because now we'll be able to bring in other resources and put them through the same facilities, which was always the plan.
Thank you. So we have time for another 2 questions. Those who haven't asked, please, if anybody is interested. Himanshu from Economic Times.
Hello. I wanted to ask Mr. Ambani, while you've been very sketchy about details of your new venture and said it will evolve, but in your vision, how big a part of Reliance do you think these new initiatives would be? And my question to Bob is, when you're looking at, and I'd also want if you can elaborate on, these are nice words, unconventional mobility solution, disruptive mobility trends. If you could elaborate a bit on what these might be, and from your perspective, are there any more policy changes, improvements, reforms that you look forward to in India?
Our expectation is, and at this time, we're just announcing the formation of the partnership. Right? Our expectation is that and that's what we've said in the end, that the Indian market, as India grows, will be among the top 3 or 4 energy markets in the world. And if we are going to meet our energy, the opportunity that we see is really to meet all our energy needs from within ourselves using technology and capability over the coming decades. And using what our Prime Minister has done with his new energy policy and with his new energy vision, and with where the world is going, right? That gives us a framework that Bob described. What we're telling you today is that we are committed. The aspiration is to be a significant player for the Indian market in India as we are, and really move the needle to these next generation solutions. So it is going to be a significant business. You are absolutely right that there are a lot of technological buzzwords in those pieces, right? And I think that in the coming months we will explain each one of them. Like some of them come from the constraints that both our boards have, that we have to disclose whatever we agree on, and that's the reason. And over the coming months and years, you will see very simple explanations of this with investments and what it means for the consumer. But clearly, as we bring technology to the consumers, for the Indian consumers, it necessarily has to be higher reliability, more value, lower prices. And for the Indian economy, it has to be, as Bob said, less dependence on the external world. And if we can find a business model and a platform that we can execute here, it will mean more employment in the technological area to then see that this model is exported to the rest of the world. That would be our aspiration, whether we achieve that. And this is a long-term, it's a 20-year vision. This is a business that's a long-term business that over and above the existing business that we have, that we are committed to. And we will, like the big message is that we've decided for the first time to do this in India first, right? And as both of us put resources, and we will be working with universities across the world, we will be working with some of the best brains across the world, and we would be working in different pilot markets to experiment and see what works and what doesn't work and what scales. But that is, when you look at all those buzzwords, that's just to communicate to the market that we think that we are going to look at the entire energy value chain. That's just, sorry for, I myself was quite saying that, it's difficult for any layman to understand what we are saying. But over months, we will expand that. That's just the constraints of what our lawyers in both the companies want us to do.
Amitav Ranjan, Indian Express. Oh, sorry, Bob.
Yeah, you're a very good question about policy, and rather than giving their detailed things, could mention, but I think overall, as the world continues to focus on climate change over time here, government policies that support clean burning natural gas is very important for the world and important for India. So policies which support a free market pricing for natural gas, I think India should use its own molecules of gas, and rather than bringing so much in, and things that help the industry along, I think are the broad-based policy things that I would hope to see continuing. And possibly incentives to combine renewable energies like solar and wind with natural gas as a peak fuel when the sun isn't shining and the wind isn't blowing, that you have natural gas to back it up in the system.
So, Amitav?
Yeah. It sounds very much like marriage for keeps between the two of you. Are you planning to take this overseas, this relationship?
I think as we've said, by using and developing technologies here, actually, that is what we have talked about, is learning and making some mistakes, experimenting, not being too cautious about it on the Indian market, which is growing and has such a appetite for energy, that's what we have been talking about. Don't know where, don't know when, but that's the idea of the partnership.
That's it, I think. Nayantara will
have
to have the last word.
Since we have both of you here, and without you saying we don't like to crystal gaze, etc., for the rest of the year, what kind of crude prices are the two of you penciling in? We cannot not ask you this question. We'll ask you on that maybe.
Well, I think we're planning our BP on $50 to $55. I think today it's $46 or $47. I think we'll have to see. The stock levels around the world, I think in the third and fourth quarter may decrease a little bit. We might create a little firming in the market. But it's really a bit of a battle between the sheikhs and the shale. So I think we also have to watch the U.S. oil production as an indicator. But I'm not overly worried about it. I think the market is stable and we'll start to see stabilize. I think 50 to 55 is how we think about the future. Not just this year, but even next year.
Thank you so much. Shashi, please, if you could.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And that was a real good set of questions. It's great to see you guys asking our bosses in, and we can listen to them. But just to quickly summarize, what you just heard was, we're coming together to build an energy vertical across the chain. And this would be an energy vertical which would look beyond the conventional. And it would look at opportunities which will concentrate on two things that the world is going through. One is climate change, and how do we move towards a low-carbon world? And number two, digitization is happening, and how do we take advantage of digitization? So it's digitization, climate change, energy vertical, all of this coming together for the first time, and for the first time in India, and then taking that to a much more broader sense beyond that. So with that, I just want to thank you all for coming here. Bob and Mukesh, thank you for coming and doing this. And this is a historic occasion for India and for us. So thank you, and wish us good luck.